welcome to another episode of Shaking It Up. I'm your host today, James McNeil, and I have some wonderful guests with us. Today, we're talking about the subject, hustling the right way. And so I want to introduce our guests that will be joining us today. We've got a very fun conversation, and if you have any young adults at your home, we invite you to bring them and have them look on their tablets, on their computers, even on their television screens, so that they can join in through our chat on YouTube. So to my first guest, to my left is Pastor Andre Campbell.
Good evening.
Also on our couch are the Honors family, Solomon and Laura, who own Honors Interior.
How you guys doing? How you guys doing?
And then my good friend, Chaplain, Pastor Ramel Charles.
How's it going? How's it going?
Wonderful. And so I have asked them to join me because I wanted to talk about a subject that I would say it's near and dear, but it definitely has sparked interest, especially with how 2020 ended. For the most part, 2020 was a reflection year for many of us. And what we learned, what we saw, what we experienced was nothing short of a once-in-a-lifetime event. And then at the same time, it was also something that has been a watershed moment, because things have now changed. And so businesses, I was told that there was over 793,000 businesses that started. Many of them, particularly small, were closed, never to be opened again. The larger businesses experienced financial difficulties. And so you have many people who are talented, who are exceptional, but don't have jobs, are struggling to kind of figure out their next steps. Included in that number are young people, young adult people, because normally our young people would, spend time, coming from college, working at maybe their summer jobs. But last year was different, and so jobs were closed. And so people had to figure out what to do. And so some of the things I came across were that people were doing a lot of work from home. People were doing coding. People were doing all kinds of different things to get themselves going. So as we were all sitting in our living rooms, as we were spending lots of time streaming, I said, I want to go look up some things, and began to look up things about entrepreneurship. Even came across a Netflix documentary I recommend everybody, called The Black Godfather, about Clarence Avant, who was ahead of his time but was an entrepreneur. And so today's conversation is really aimed at helping us all begin thinking about how can we start our own, how can we begin to have a conversation, not only having a side hustle, but having something that we're passionate about, that we enjoy, that will put money into our pockets, but also help our communities locally. So I had some questions that I shared with the panelists, and so we're going to just go ahead and get started with that, and anybody can jump in. I want to talk about one of the things about what are the steps to starting a business. What are the steps, as you know, to starting a business?
Well, maybe I'll jump in. One of the first things is identifying a need. There has to be a demand for what it is, or the demand may not be visible right now, but if you're looking at the external environment and seeing the changes that are made, you could actually position yourself, set a trajectory to land at the right time if you get your timing right. And so first identify a need, and hopefully it doesn't have to be, but I believe it's better if it's an area of passion for you. And so for me, those are some of the starting blocks, the foundational blocks in getting started.
Okay. Anyone else? Starting a business, what are some of the steps?
I know for my wife and I, just for the fact that, we kind of got started abruptly, kind of. It was just kind of like what he said. It was identifying a need that somebody had. But I think one of the steps, you just have to be bold and kind of just jump into it. Don't jump into it without having a thought or a process that you want to have first, but you have to kind of wholeheartedly commit. And that's something that my wife did before I understood, where we were going initially. But it's something that you have to, for me, I'd say make sure if you're young, especially, have a partner that you go into it with. So I think that's one of the few steps that you should have.
And I guess I'll kind of chime in also. So just like kind of what Andre said, I always tell people, so there are three things that you can sell. You can sell your mind, which is your information, your content, stuff that you know that other people may not know. You can sell your heart, which is your passion, and your passion and your heart, your head might kind of go together. Or you can sell your hands. So basically, a lot of people focus more on the I'm going to sell my hands and work for a dollar amount per hour. But when you have knowledge and content and you have a passion for something, it's easy to sell that to somebody else because there's always a niche. Never be afraid of starting something new, because I tell people, if you go to the grocery store and you go to the bread aisle, there are 100 different kinds of bread brand names and also bread types. So just because you're a baker and you like bacon doesn't mean that, there's enough bread in the store. There's always room for something else. So I think a lot of people get scared simply because they think that, there's already a niche here. Well, you can actually take that niche even further, become more specialized, and there's always opportunity to get into it. So don't be afraid of what is already out there. I know soda companies are still putting out new sodas, even though there's tons of soda that people already have their commitment to certain brand names. But never be afraid of trying something new. Your first idea may not necessarily make it, but if you keep on trying, eventually you'll find that niche that people want, and I guarantee you it will definitely help when becoming successful.
I want to piggyback a little bit off of everything that's been said, and using some personal experience as well. I was a shortcut person most of my life.
Shortcut person.
Yeah, I was looking for the shortcut. I didn't want to, and so what I'm getting at, and all these entrepreneurs on this panel will probably groan when I say it is, I finally realized that I had to do that almighty business plan. I finally had to do that lean canvas, lean business model canvas. So I have a sheet. If you know what that is, it's a one sheet. So lean canvas is a one sheet that has your customers, the problem you're solving, the problem that you're dealing with, and the solution, and it has all of the other components like distribution and where you're getting your funding, and all these things are on one page that is it's like a living document. So that's a place you can start to ferret out, to distill your concept, and then now some people say full-on business plan. I will say maybe an executive summary in this day and age, and a pitch deck. So a lean canvas for your back office. If you're looking to start a business, you want to be able to know who your customer is. If you don't know who your customer is, if I ask you your business model or your revenue model and stuff like that, and you're looking at me like, I just want to go sell hot dogs on the corner down. Okay, did you get a business license? What did you need? And all of that is part of what Solomon, right? Did I get it right? Yep. What a name, my brother. That's a name. It's part of what he's saying. You got to be bold, but part of boldness is preparation. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? You don't just jump out of a plane and say, "Oops, I forgot my parachute." You actually count the cost. The Bible says that. So lean canvas, right? You can write that down, and the internet has videos that'll show you how to do one. Executive summary, it doesn't have to be extremely long, 5 pages max, what your figures and charts and financial numbers, your ask, and your pitch deck, which is just like 10 to 12 slides that just can tell your story like this if you're going for funding. Some folks have to go for funding. But those are the things, and so the last thing I would say with that is, because we're talking about getting started, and a lot of people, I've had partners, I said I was going to use a personal business example. I've had partners, and I can I use the word hate?
You can say loathe.
I loathe partnerships sometimes, and that's why right now I'm a partner with my wife. And anybody else I'm like on a contract with, Amen, right? Amen. So 2003, I started creating the Fruit Troop, animated series for kids. Phil Vischer, I was in contact with Phil Vischer of Veggie Tales, and he was like, listen, we need more people doing children's stuff. So I did it. 2006, it was completed 3 years later. And, but the one thing I failed to do was to look at the external environment.
Break that down.
So people talk about a SWOT analysis, strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Well, what that does is when you look at your strengths and weaknesses first, like you say, oh, I got this great idea, that's my strength. And then you think you're looking at your weaknesses, but you might really not really be looking at them, because unless you look at what's going on on the outside, the external, what's going on in the market, you might make a mistake like I did. And what that was we printed 20,000 DVDs in 2006. Can anybody remember what change, technological change was happening in 2006? Everything was going digital.
Yep.
Video was going digital. I was printing, and the company that printed it was Duplium out in Texas, was glad to take my money. But had I paid attention in starting the business and looked where the market was going, we would have gone digital and could have avoided an extremely expensive outlay of capital. So if you're looking to get started, you need to get the facts.
Wow. That's
Pump the brakes, man.
Yeah,
Pump the brakes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that one thing, if you don't have business educational background, don't let that stop you. I think listening to a lot of these things, it can sound overwhelming. There's a lot of new terms, but there's so many books, like the Business Canvas model. You can get it on Amazon. There's so many things you can look into that once you kind of do your research, you'll get your head around it, and you can make really good decisions from there. It's not super, super hard. You just have to really look into it and do your research and pay attention.
I like that. Because I was hearing all this, I'm like, oh my gosh. My head was about to explode, but at the same time, someone has done it before, right? And if somebody has done it before, then it can be duplicated.
And I'll chime in. I'll say this: if you have a particular niche that you're trying to get into, find somebody else who's also in that niche and also pick their brain. Most people aren't stingy with sharing information. Anybody who believes in their brand and believes in their content, they have no problem sharing that with you. People who are more on the stingy side, they're more afraid of you kind of undercutting them and taking a part of their business and their value. But if they have a truly good business or a truly great product, they have no problem sharing you with strengths and weaknesses, or find a mentor, find somebody else who has a more of that head start on you, and just pick their brain. Everybody needs a good coach and a good mentor. Find somebody who's in your field, or even find somebody who just has the business background to help you get started, to create your business plan, to create all your different steps, to go through all these steps before you make a heaping financial investment, and then it doesn't work out in the end.
Yeah, I would say definitely don't be nervous to do that. That was one of the things that when we first got started, and we spent a lot of time just like going into the shops that we thought was kind of something we'd want to do, and just talking to the owners. And a lot of time they're totally happy to talk to you and help you. So definitely don't be nervous and go talk to people.
Absolutely. And so, go ahead, Solomon.
I know with myself, and I know he was saying how much he loathes partnership, especially with somebody that you aren't close to, or that you may not be fully invested in, or so my wife and I are partnered. So there are a lot of entrepreneurs. There are a lot of entrepreneurs that look for, or there are a lot of people who want to be entrepreneurs that are probably looking at themselves as, I'm not the complete package in wanting to be able to start a business. I don't know how to create a website. I don't know how to do these things. In my case, I was blessed with having my wife. So we both are a lot of what each other aren't. So she likes to take a lot of the risks. I like to be the devil's advocate and point out little things, and then we move forward and keep emotion out of it, and we move forward from there, so that way we make sound decisions. And that's one thing, a lot of people look at themselves, well, I don't want to make this mistake and that mistake. And that's kind of where, you will need a mentor or somebody to help guide you in that situation.
Yeah, and if you don't know how to do certain things, I wouldn't let that stop you either, because I just so happen to know how to make websites. But a lot of people could be starting a business. Well, how would I sell this? I don't know how to make a website. Well, there's information out there for you, but there's also so many platforms where you can hire someone, not even as expensive as you would think. And so there's so many things. Just don't let them stop you, because you can have other people do certain parts of your business, like your bookkeeping. Don't be worried about taxes. There's other people and other resources you can go to.
And I'm sorry to continue going on. I know we're teaming up here or whatever. But definitely, I think something that we knew, but we're learning more and more the further along we go within our business, or businesses, is that hiring somebody can make you more money than what you think that you're spending. Okay, so sometimes you need to hire somebody. Like you say, oh, I want to make my own website. I could do it myself. But that time that you're spending to try to create something that's probably not as good as it would be if you had somebody who already knows how to do it, do it. You want to pay somebody to do things like that, so that way you aren't taking your time that should be invested in making your product better to do things like make a website or make your social media better. These are things that would be great if you didn't know how to do, but these are things that you should definitely outsource to other people and try to keep all your time focused on innovation.
Wow. Hold on 1 second, because you guys have put out so much stuff out there. I don't know if everybody is catching the vision. Because what I'm also hearing you say is start small. Start small and go and kind of know what you like and begin with that. I think that's so crucial, because oftentimes we do things that our friends like or our families like. But I'm also hearing you say know what you like and begin to take those steps. And don't be afraid about making mistakes. Is that a good summary?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
And once again, it has to be your knowledge, your information, your education, or your passion. If you're trying to do what somebody else is doing because it's popular, you will probably feel because it's not your passion. You're not going to want to wake up every day and put your heart into it. So you have to find what you like doing and also a niche that's missing and find your part to play. So going back to what Simon was saying, let's just say you make $100 an hour. Why would you cut your grass when you could be making $100 an hour? You could hire somebody else and pay them $20 and have them cut your grass for you. So in the business sense, don't use your time to do something that you could hire somebody else at a lower rate when you can still keep making your money and have them do their task for you. It saves you money in the long run, which is kind of what he was trying to say.
You know, I take it back a little bit, because when I said loathe, I guess I had to qualify a little bit, you know, because I actually loathe it because I made poor choices in the past. I made some really poor choices in partnership. Good people, but poor choice of partnership, and it cost me a lot. And I ended up, I think some of my the ability to solve problems in business came from having to finagle to make it still work because of the type of partnerships that I chose. So like you all, I've partnered with my wife in our current business, and you know, leaning on her strengths and mine. Mine is to get through the maze. Hers is to organize and streamline. And we were able to really benefit because of that. And I want to add one other piece. You know, business is changing. You know, business is moving from competition to collaboration. Like how you said, when you go into these businesses, you know, we're moving into a time where the concept of profit is shifting. It's about value creation now. So that's a whole nother piece to this, that if you want to go into business, again, there's I think we said it earlier, don't look at the external environment. See where the future of work and business is going. There are three types, can I kind of go there?
Go.
There are three types of infrastructure that have to be built globally right now. We have the three types are: the communications infrastructure has to be rebuilt, the transportation infrastructure has to be built, and the energy infrastructure has to be built. Forget about all the other awesome things that need to be done. So if you're looking, maybe you're an electrician or a plumber or a computer individual, whatever. There's going to be trillions of dollars pumped into the economy, just the U.S. economy alone, in order to achieve some of this. So there's a lot of opportunity. You need to know where that opportunity is as well. So.
Wow. And see, knowing that, just that information right there, I think is gold. Because you've got to start thinking about what kind of associations or what types of networking do I need to make, or do I need to put myself in touch with to begin to move forward. It sounds like all of you have had to, at least at some shape or form, create some type of collaborative team of some shape, which is counter to what we sometimes do at church, right? If we're honest, we have a tendency to kind of isolate ourselves. And although we're a community, we're not necessarily a community that shares information readily. And so this goes counter to that. I think that's very, very key. Go ahead. Oh, okay. I thought I saw somebody had something. And I think that's so important, because as we're looking at our communities, we've realized that we've gone from a community that has been building fixated to now digital and globally fixated. We're a global village. We've always said we're a global village, but 2020 has shown that we are a global village. And even as we're looking at 2021, yes, people are starting to go back to work, but it's in phases. From a parental perspective, I've got young kids in school, and seeing the difference of them being at home, getting that same information versus going to the school, it's almost night and day. Like, they can set their own pace. They can learn, the way they want. Whereas my oldest, I take him to school every day, and he's learning. But there's more of a socialization piece, if that makes sense. Now, how does that tie into business? It means that we've got to do a better job, or one has to do a better job of being able to communicate their needs, right? I think it was Solomon and Laura that talked about, well, you're not going to be, if you're not the perfect person, don't stop there because you're not the perfect person. There are people that know how to do taxes. There are people that know how to do payroll, etc. And understanding the cost versus benefit. We used to call it cost-benefit analysis, and I wasn't an accountant, but the idea is, will it cost me more to do this, and what's the benefit that I get out of it? I think we make those choices all the time, and whether you're a young person right now in their teens, you're making choices like that all the time. Is it, am I going to play on my Xbox, or am I going to ride my bike, or is it better for me to get a driver's license so I can go to my friends and play the Xbox? Strategy. So we're doing this all the time, but how do we transfer those skills that we're learning into the life that we want to live?
Strategy is the word. Of course, we want to ask God to guide us. And one of the things is there's knowledge available to us. There's knowledge available to all of us. I think you said that, go on the internet, look it up, right? And so, there's an old saying that says, knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in fruit salad.
Hallelujah.
Right? And then there's a more technical saying that I love that says, contextual information leads to contextual competence, which helps us to make good decisions to plan, implement, and manage for change. And, so if we recognize that there's a path, there's a framework that we can go through, and if we ask others, they may reveal that framework to us, we can make our way. One of the pieces we haven't touched, and I don't know if it's in your questions, is the money. Are we going to get to the money?
We will get to the money.
Okay.
We will get to the money. And although we're talking about businesses, I think sometimes we forget, too, that nonprofits are businesses as well. I did some research on that, nonprofits, and one of the things that echoes very similar in that, what are you passionate about, and what is the need that you're trying to meet? I remember coming across a young boy that saw that there were a lot of cancer patients that would go bald. And he was concerned about this, and he wanted to figure out, how can I address this need? And so he started a foundation that would collect caps from all over the world, and they would donate them to cancer patients so that they would not feel bad because they're losing their hair, and a lot of them were afraid to go out in public. It was a simple idea, simple thought. The boy wasn't more than 10 years old, but he said, this is something that I'm passionate about, and I can do this very easy. And taking donations, and I think someone like Christian Bale, who starred in the Batman series, donated a hat to it. And so it's those types of things, even a non-profit or not-for-profit, that we can look at, because they're young people. You guys see the world differently and more widely than we do. You know, I go to work every day and I come home and all I think about is I'm going to work, I come home and I just want to rest. But my kids, they see the ideas of, oh, maybe we can get a dog walking business because there's some people they need that time away from that. It's an opportunity, an opportunity for exercise. To create an opportunity to help people, whether they're older or younger, take better care of their body. And with apps and all types of things that are there, it's faster and better than ever. So I definitely want to make sure that as we're talking about this conversation, we're not forgetting that not-for-profit segment as well.
Can I say something on that as well?
Go ahead.
Come on, don't have me talking too much now. You can say no. A lot of what's happening in the fourth industrial revolution, that's where we're heading. We're heading into the fourth industrial revolution. We're going through what they call the digital transformation, okay? And trying to get back to I'm having a junior moment there. Man, because I veered away. Help me, Holy Ghost. It was a good point that I had there.
But wasn't it tomato in the fruit salad?
It wasn't tomato and fruit salad, man. But I guess I'll just go with it. The shift that's taking place, a lot of people are actually not aware of that, and so they're not preparing for it. But industry, there it is. And I got to be able to pronounce the word. Philanthropy is actually moving to the forefront now. And so, as you say, don't forget that nonprofits are opportunities. And nowadays, you can actually have a startup type of nonprofit that is funded not by money that has to be paid back, but by something called impact investment. Right. The return on investment for impact investors is the impact that is made. As long as the outcome, the desired outcome, the impact is made, they consider their money well spent. Right? They might be getting tax credits to give out that money. So I want our young people who are tech savvy, who have ideas that can help humanity and bring value to humanity, change people's lives, like the hats or just whatever it is, don't neglect those areas, because that's one of the areas that are booming now. It's been going for impact investment has been around for 10 years, but it is just now really coming forward to the forefront. I'm actually looking at some of that for some of the things that I'm doing as well.
Okay. Nice. Impact investment. We definitely going to have to unpack that. If not this segment, maybe at another time. But that's something that is, because you're talking about not only not-for-profit, but charity, and doing good, not only for the sake of doing good, but also getting credit for it as well. So one of the questions I want to pose out to everyone is, what are some of the myths about starting a business or starting your own venture?
Well, I'll definitely jump in on that one. So I know one of the myths is that you are going to do everything yourself, or you're the best person qualified to do everything in your business. That's not true. If you believe that you can do it all, then you are failing yourself. A part of the myths is that you have to be able to network and to find other people to fill in the areas where are not your strengths. If we learn how to stay in our lanes when it comes to starting a business, it makes it better for you to be more successful. If you're trying to do everything, then you have a harder time of succeeding because you don't have enough time in the day to do everything.
Can you give us like an example of that, like a good concrete one?
So for instance, if you're trying to be your own marketing, content developer, promotion, if you're trying to do all the actual sales, or if you have a product, you're doing all the packing and shipping out, you don't have enough time in the day. It might make more sense for you to hire somebody, if you have a tangible product that you're selling, to pay somebody to box all your products and mail them out for you versus you doing it all yourself. You have to learn to figure out how much time you have and where's your time going to be best spent. So one of the biggest myths is that you're going to do every single thing and is going to succeed. And that's not true. A second myth is that you're going to be successful the first time around. That's also not true. You might have to, people think that success is like an A to B line, where it's literally like running through one of those mazes where you got to put your pen on the paper and drag it, but you can't go backwards. You got to figure out how to get to the end goal. It's going to take a lot of twists and a lot of different turns, a lot of correction, adjusting, so that you can get to where you're going. So there will be a whole lot of frustration, but don't let frustration keep you from moving forward. Just make sure that if you know what your end goal is, and if you believe that your product or what you're bringing to the table is something that's needed for the community, don't let your hurdles keep you from getting there. There will be obstacles. You can't do it yourself. Find people to work with you, and that kind of ties into another piece. Everybody who is passionate about the same thing aren't going to always support you in that same thing, if that makes sense. Yeah. So everybody in the same car with you isn't going to the same destination. So you may have friends who you think that, hey, I have this business, I have this product, all my friends are going to support me. That's probably not true. Your friends will probably not support you. They will go to somebody else and spend more money with them than they will supporting you. So don't get your feelings hurt. Don't lose friendships over believing that if you're putting out a product and they might use it, that they're going to come to you. So learn upfront who your market is and target them. Don't only target in your community, because your community might not necessarily support you.
Wow. Wow, sobering.
Yeah, I would say the passion thing is huge, because once you get into it, all these different things that are happening, you're going to spend a lot of time and a lot of energy. And if it's not something that you love, it can definitely still happen, but it's a lot easier if it's something that you really care about. And then the friends thing, I think, is big too, because not even in necessarily purchasing your products, sometimes people just won't support the grind that you're after. You'll be working weird hours. I know us, we're always talking about it. And a lot of people don't necessarily relate, or maybe they're jealous in some ways. They don't know what they want to do with their lives. We've had a lot of people that kind of walked away from us because of what we were doing, because they just didn't understand, and they just wanted to go out on Friday night or whatever, and we just don't do that. And so I would say that's a big thing. I had another point, but I forget what it is now. Yeah.
Great point. It takes a lot of focus. Leaning in, late nights, the work that people don't see is the work that makes the difference,
That's right.
And, finances, putting in the finances to get going, and, sleepless nights again. My wife and I would be up sometimes, because we have all the other stuff we had to get accomplished. And some nights we'd say, okay, in order to move the peg forward for licensing, we opened a group home,
Okay.
and so we had to get licensing for that, 3 different licenses. Get licensed through ACA, get licensed through Medicaid, get licensed through, then get licensed, the facility license.
That's right.
So there were some late nights and large stacks of paper and some things that just seemed impossible and made 0 sense. But you hold in there. I always said to my wife, we're in the wormhole, and we can't really see our way. We're kind of feeling, but hang in there. Let's keep moving forward and keep doing what we know that we need to do. And that light opens up on the other side one day, and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I made it. And sometimes it might just be a step, one step, and you got several more steps. There's always some more steps to go. But definitely, hanging in there, and people will say goodbye, or, some of your high maintenance friends will say, how come you don't call me no more? But, because I've learned that I need to focus, we can talk later.
And to chime in again, one of the key words when it comes to starting a business is sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice, or what are you not willing to sacrifice for your business to become successful? So for some people, it might mean you have to have a 9 to 5, and your 5 to 9 is where you're really grinding to get your business up and running. And if your friends are more focused on you not hanging out with them, look, you have we all have 24 hours in the day.
Right.
And every minute is crucial. So if you're trying to be successful, it means sacrifice. It might mean you're not going out as often. It might mean you have to miss birthdays or people's parties or whatever. You have to know, what are you willing to sacrifice, or what are you not willing to sacrifice? Because if it's all about you and your business taken off the ground and you being successful, sacrifice has to come. It might mean some sleepless nights, some early mornings. It might mean having to do more than you expected. You have to work on weekends. It's literally about sacrificing what needs to be sacrificed in order for you to be successful.
Yeah, and it's also one of the best feelings. So you go through all of that, but it doesn't mean it's bad. You do it because you love it, and you come out the other side, or you hit these milestones, and every little milestone's so exciting. Other people might not understand it, but when you're in it, it's totally worth it.
Have you ever heard I guess many of us heard the story of the Emperor Moth, you know, and basically the Emperor Moth, in short, there's a story of, there was one in this guy's window, and one day the cocoon started opening up, and you know, he saw this creature trying to come out, and it got stuck, and he felt sorry for it. It was struggling for like 2 days, and so he finally just went and tore the cocoon open for it so it can come on out, and it kind of flopped on out, and then its wings stayed small, and it never was able to fly. And later on, he looked it up online and found out that it was an emperor moth. It needed the struggle of getting out of the cocoon on its own to go through these, you know, to go through these different struggles to push the fluid to its wings so that its wings can get nurtured and grow, and it can become the beautiful emperor moth it was meant to be. So definitely, you know, be willing to go through the struggle. That's why I said I'm the shortcut king, but I had to give up that crown.
Mercy.
And realize that there's work that has to be put in, and when you put in that work, there can be a time of respite. You know, there can be a time of fellowship and relaxation.
I like that, because those are the same skills that you need even now as whether you're in school or you're just starting off in your own venture, to have that determination and perseverance. So you may be working for, you know, Burger King or Walmart right now, but those same skills you need to be able to persevere, to work hard, work diligent, understanding how to work even. And so, yes, you know, being able to embrace that struggle is truly important.
Yeah. And I guess an additional myth is that you're always going to have all of your resources in your circle. You might have to go outside of your comfort zone to find people to help you get your business off the ground. In other words, everybody who you may know may not have all the content or all the information that you may need. So you have to be able to come out of your comfort zone and find the people who might need to help teach you a lesson. And it's literally all about that learning aspect, and take fear out of the picture. And I know fear is one of the biggest things that controls us and helps us either make decisions or keeps us from making decisions. But you have to get to a point where fear should not control how your business is going. You have to be able to make smart decisions every single day. It's about creating that consistent, smart choice after choice after choice, because it all has a goal at the end. Because if you bring emotion into it and you trust a friend to help you, or they say, hey, I'm going to do this, and not somebody who you're paying, then therefore you might literally lose your business because one person didn't do their job. Take fear out of the equation and find the exact people who you need to do their part. Make sure that they are compensated, and it makes it easier in that route. So take that myth that you have all that you need right within your own circle. Come out of your circle and find those who you actually need to make you successful.
You make me think of the book From Good to Great.
Yeah.
Yep, Jim Collins.
Yeah, and one of my favorite parts of it is where it says, you need to be the dumbest person in the room. And also uses the school bus analogy. It says, you know, you have a school bus full of people who, I call them functionaries. They do different, maybe it's your CPA or your biller, your whoever. You know, you need to have the right person driving the bus at the appropriate time. So that's a great book if you're looking for a business book. And another good business book I just throw one out there is The Profit Zone and Blue Ocean Thinking. Blue Ocean Thinking. Those are several good ones.
Yeah. Nice, real nice.
Yeah, I think that also ties back to what we were saying before in having your structure and your business model. Because once you're in it, having that plan is really important, because you can go day to day, and when you're your own boss and trying to figure it out on your own, it's like, well, what do I do today? You know, and if you have your structure in place ahead of time, then you know what your goal is every day.
Yeah, you sparked some good thoughts here. You know, they say luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Right.
And when you have your stuff, when you know what it is, you have your vision out there in front of you. And again, it doesn't have to be the old school long 50-page, you know, I've done those before, and those drive you crazy, right? But it could just 5 pages, 12 slides, and a 1-sheet lean canvas. And it's simple, you know, in a way, but it does take some work to put together. But, you know, at the end of the day, you need to be prepared for the opportunities because they come. I was sitting in New York, upstate New York, at the Salvation Army in 2013 with the top brass of Salvation Army, and I had one of the largest cloud companies. QTS was there representing us, with us, and we said we could be the new electronic kettle for the Salvation Army. And we were ready on one hand, we had the concept, but we were still really a startup. We hadn't built the software.
Oops.
And worse than that, we didn't have contracts. So we're in the room now with the opportunity, and we're like, boom, 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 boom. And they're like, where do we sign? And it was like, no contracts, no lawyers, no contracts. And we faltered and fiddled and failed. They ended up going with someone else. So, you know, there is something to say about preparation. But not preparation for the sake of preparation's sake, and not, what do they say, paralysis of analysis.
Paralysis of analysis, yeah. Well.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on what Solomon said in the beginning, like, be bold. You got to be,
bold.
yeah.
That's it.
The spoils go to the bold.
Kick the door down, right? Well, so now we want to go to that segment. Andre's been dying to talk about the money. The money, the money. What exactly can we do, or how exactly do we generate the money or the funds for this new project, this new venture? So I'll throw an example out there, and so that those who are watching at home can follow along. So I've decided that I want to go ahead and start up a coding camp of some sort. All right, now that I've, you know, put out my plan, and now that I have checked out a few people, how do I generate money from this coding camp? How would I start? How could I generate money for this? Because a business that doesn't make any money will soon become what? A closed business, a failed business. So I'm going to put it out to you all. How would I generate, or how do I generate money? I use Code Camp as an example, but you can substitute that for anything. I just want to give something concrete so that our viewers at home could get a better understanding of how this thing works.
Well, you know, Ramel had said something earlier, and it's like, at the end of the day, there are opportunities out there. There's right now is an unprecedented time for funding, for businesses, with what's going on with our government. If we can step out there a little bit, universal basic income is on its way in. That's what the stimulus, the $2,000 stimulus they're talking about is really the beginnings of universal basic income. So now, Ramel talked about having that 9 to 5 that can fund, you know, seed your business. You know, and that's you. And for a while, you might be pulling double shifts. But you know, they're coming. You got to look at the opportunity. There's one lady that was very successful in business, one of my mentors. She said, what's in your hand? Use what's in your hand. And so there are opportunities that are here right now. Don't let COVID-19 fool you. This is they talk about the greatest wealth transfer. This is one of during the Great Depression, some of the biggest business, a lot of people became successful in business because they ended up losing that job that they had and ended up going into business. So use what's in your hand, take advantage of the things that are coming down the pipeline, get your business legitimately a business that you can actually, whether it's a nonprofit or LLC or corporation, position it that if you do need outside funding, you can get it, but also, you know, position yourself to use your funding. And if I may add, one of the things I've seen that trouble most companies is this concept of cash flow. Not having enough money to grow your business.
Okay.
And some people, I want to warn entrepreneurs, because you know, like Ramel and others, I've been around this this is not my first rodeo. I've done gold and diamond mining. In Africa, I've run a vegan meat company. You know, animation.
Vegan meat company.
Vegan meat company, man. I was hawking vegan meat out in Seattle, Washington at the R&D kitchen. I was cooking some curry, some fake curry goat, you know, at the R&D kitchen at Costco's, you know, and they were like, they wanted it, but they wanted a bigger thing, and we didn't have the cash flow and we didn't have the banking relationships to go and get our stuff, our bigger boxes made and things like that. So, you know, be wise. When you start making money, don't go buy the fancy car. Been there, done that. You know, sacrifice, reinvest back into your business, or you will be working for your business forever. It's better to be wise and work on your business so that it can grow, if that's what you're looking to do. If you want to be a boutique, then be a boutique, you know.
Okay. Another great opportunity. So I actually learned this from my architect when we were going through a building project at church. So he was actually trying to help us to realize that there are a ton of organizations that are willing to give you money to invest in you no matter what niche you're in. The question is, you have to find these companies and literally write them a letter and state them what your purpose is, and they will actually invest in you as a simple grant. And of course, you don't even have to pay it back. Of course, your 9 to 5 is probably the primary place where you're going to be putting money in. If you're just a teenager, you might need to save up the money that you get for your birthday, for your Christmas. Talk to your auntie, your uncle, your grandma, and literally help them see your plan and invest in you. But it's literally about trying to find the people around you to pitch the vision, and if they see the vision, they will support you. So it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're a teenager or a young adult trying to start a business, or you're older and you're trying to start a business. It's all about trying to find the people who can see the vision and pitch the vision, but there are still a ton of other organizations out there that are willing to invest in you because they are getting tax write-offs at the end of the day.
Talk to your bank manager. When you started going down the list, I was like, a lot of people don't realize your bank they have funds, $5, $10, $15, $25,000 that they can invest into. It's not a loan, it's a grant from the bank. So things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that we come from a little bit of a different perspective, maybe, in being that we are kind of more of a boutique business. So I think right now, for us, social media was huge. We kind of got started, how you were mentioning, when the hurricane came through a couple of years ago, we both lost our jobs. And from there, we're like, what do we do? And we went and bought a dresser for $20, got some materials, refinished it, sold it the next day. Someone came and got it, and we sold it on Facebook Marketplace. So something that's available to you, didn't cost us anything. We sold it, so we invested maybe $50 that we could scrape together, and we're just 2 years later, it completely grew from there. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities in social media, ads on social media. They're not expensive, and you can reach people in your area, or if you have something that ships, you can reach people in the demographics you're looking for all over the country, not expensively. And Etsy is huge. If you do something that you make, we just talked to someone the other day, I think it was their sister-in-law. She loved printing things, and she got one of those print cutter things, made an Etsy store, and it's her full-time job now, and she makes coasters and stuff.
So Laura, you're gonna have to forgive me. What's an Etsy store?
It's just Etsy.com, and it's like a marketplace for handmade goods. Okay. Basically.
ETSY.
Yeah.
I've seen it all over like Facebook and some of these. I was never quite sure what it is.
Yeah.
I just went dyslexic. That's what happened.
And it's free to make a store on there. So you can go and set up your little shop, and they have policies and everything, and you set it up, and you can, right away, you're reaching people.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
And when you talk about that, that's so important, especially like you said, starting from zero to going to $1 million or whatever. Shopify, Etsy, and something else you said sparked one of the things to do with the online.
Social media?
It was average. Social media. Keep going. Go ahead, Ramel. Save me, and then I'll remember what it is I was going to say. It tied into what you were saying just a moment ago. It'll come.
All right. Well, I want to read from Ecclesiastes 9, verse 10. It's Solomon, not our Solomon, but the biblical Solomon says this. I thought was interesting. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with your might, for there is no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave where you're going. And what it says to me is that now is really the time more than ever before to take what you love and take what you do, put your passion, do your best work in it, because when your time comes, you won't be able to work. When the time comes, whether you pass away, whether you get sick, whether you become debilitated for whatever reason, whether there's a change in the economy. So now is the time to begin, I think, your idea or to work, which was kind of leads me to my next question. When is the best time in 2021 to get started? I guess I kind of answered that question. But how would you get started now? If someone says, we watched this today, I want to get started, how do I take with it? What's the first step in 2021?
Kind of like what he was saying earlier, which is basically you devise a plan, understand your strengths, your weaknesses, and how you can intertwine into the market. So first I would say, if there is anybody that you know that may have a business or may have something that they are doing on the side or is there full time, I would inquire with them and show them, what your plan is and how you want to go about it, and which has been the consensus for the most part up here, which is you want to pick someone's brain that knows what they're doing and are doing something, so that way you can unlock those pathways and you can try to kind of avoid those pitfalls and so you make less mistakes, because, like they say, a wise person learns from the mistakes of others. A fool makes his own mistakes. And so, you want to make sure you go about it in a way that you are constantly, like I said, avoiding those pitfalls and just, getting better and increasing from there.
That was the wisdom of Solomon right there, man.
Yeah.
I remember what it was, man.
Oh, go ahead.
So when she was talking about Etsy, I was like, so to streamline right into, what it is, how we need to look at this. Today, there's so many tools available to the entrepreneur. There's fulfillment. There's Etsy that you can go on and set up a shop. So let's say you want to sell T-shirts. You have a design or whatever it may be, or whatever it is you want to sell. You don't have to do all the packing, like you said. And I think that, again, that's a consensus that we have here. You don't have to do it all yourself. And there's fulfillment out there. Companies that basically you just set up the design. They'll put it on the T-shirt. They'll ship it out. I've been wrestling with that myself. I have more than one company, and I'll say this to entrepreneurs: if you have more than one thing you're doing, treat them like a herd of elephants. And how do you get a herd of elephants through a single gate? One elephant at a time. So some stuff is going to have to sit on the back burner. I'm wearing one of my church shirts, Child of God. I think they can see it from back in 2001. We had the design. There are other. You can't copyright the word Child of God. It's in the Bible, the term. So, but you can make a logo, a design. And we tried the route. Same thing with buying 20,000 DVDs.
Ouch.
We bought 12,000 T-shirts.
One bulk, one big.
Yeah, and then we went to the TG Jakes Mega Fest thinking we were going to sell all of them because it's like 20,000 people out there, and we sold 100 because we were in the back. We were poorly placed. By the time people got to us, they had already spent their Mega Fest money. They're like, oh, can we go online? So nowadays, we don't have to print all of that and hold all this. That's really where I'm getting to. You don't have to get into major debt to start. You can start smart. And so there are tools out there. I just hold on to that piece. There's tools out there for you to make it easier.
Good. You said something a little bit earlier, and that was make sure it's legitimate. And that stuck out with me because there's so many hustles, and that's why it's called hustling the right way. There's so many hustles out there. They don't have the licenses, or they did not ask anybody. We know, of course, the greatest hustle there is. We won't talk about that, but they made a show called Power, so I'll just go from there. And it's a hustle that, it seems like it looks good on the surface, but it's dangerous, it's destructive. Yeah. And so when you're talking about being legitimate, you're talking about taking the right steps, asking the right people, and doing it the right way.
And also, it's also doing the legwork. A lot of it is about you doing research, being online, going through different sites, finding out what are the steps that you need to do for your own business. Because it really all depends on what specific type of business you're trying to put out there. And then you figure out, well, what are the specific things that you need to do to get your business up? One thing that I've been pushing, and we were talking about it before we even went live, is that everybody needs to have some kind of trade. And once you have that trade, how do you market your trade? So whether you are a barber or a carpenter, or you're making custom furniture, whatever it is you're trying to do, you have to figure out, well, how can you get the information out there, and who are your audience? The information is there. You have to do a lot of the legwork and research online. Everything is on the internet, so you can actually get a great starting place there, and then that kind of helps you figure out what niche you're trying to meet and how you're going to get there by taking it step by step.
And don't be gullible.
Yeah, that's
right. There's a lot of people out there
That
looking
part.
to get into business, and so you're on the internet searching, or if people call you, friends call you and say, hey, I've got this gifting circle. I might be sparing somebody right now, right?
Spare them, spare them.
Gifting circles, Bitcoin thing, right? That's the hottest thing. But wait a minute, Bitcoin that means it's in the harvest mode. It's about to, I don't want to say crash and burn, because I don't know if that's what's going to happen. But right now, when you see everybody on it, that means that it's in harvest mode. That means that's finally everybody knows about it. It's when nobody really knew about it, is when people were really making money in it. So some people at the very top of these schemes are going to make money. The rest of us are just what they say an idiot is born, what they say, every second or something like that. So please don't be gullible. Be mindful of the things that you do your homework with the things that you get involved in.
Indeed, because you just talked about something that was, flashbacks.
Running through the church, gifting circles.
Gifting circle, and
If it sounds too good to be true,
it probably is. But even in your emails, you get so many of these different things, and you just click on one thing, and next thing you know, they're sending you emails about, oh yeah, join this, and you could win so many gift cards. Do this, and you get so many of that. And next thing you know, your information's been passed around so many times over.
And we have to be careful. So right now, the biggest money maker in the entire world is not even content. It's about information gathering. So Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, your TikTok, they just want to know your information, because they sell your information to somebody else who wants to market stuff to you. So literally, they're using who you are to sell it to somebody else, so they know how to generate ads to you. So it's literally about being careful. So when you're on those sites and you start getting all those multiple links, they're just taking your information, they're selling it to somebody else. And that's actually a great business if you want to get into, where you can now find content and sell to other people. In that case, being a middle person is actually a good thing when you're helping other people get to the people who they need.
True. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I know, like, legal-wise, one of the things that took us a while was figuring out, like, sunbiz.org, for example. Go and make it legitimate. You can get your name registered, get your EIN, you'll figure out all these things, and then have your packet of information about your business, and you'll end up needing it a lot more than you think you would. But it makes you just completely legitimate, and you file your taxes with that and everything, and that's really important to figure out right away.
very practical advice.
Yes.
Laura, can you explain to us what somebiz.com is real quick?
.org, yeah, it's just the Florida business registry. Yeah, there's a lot of third-party sites. A lot of things, like, definitely look for the .orgs. You can pay a lot of people to register it for you when you can go on there and fill out the information in 5 minutes. Yeah.
All right. So one of the questions we had from our chat asked this. This comes from Olivia Turner. Do you have advice for selling products on Amazon? Do you have any advice for selling products on Amazon, which is huge? I mean, 2020 showed us anything. Amazon never stops.
So I know a lot of people have been focusing on drop shipping, which is kind of like you buying from another party, and then Amazon will kind of be your retailer to house and then ship. There's a lot of information out there. Once again, it depends on what you're trying to do, because if you are not actively involved in your product, you might be giving out a product that may not be of the standard that you yourself may want. So you have to do a lot of research behind that, especially when it comes to drop shipping. Look up what drop shipping is, and you could get a lot of different videos on how to do that. So it's like buying. Amazon, see, I'm always worried about Amazon, because Amazon has a very beautiful structure. They're going to find out what works, and they're either going to try to buy you out of business or they're going to try to get you out of business. And that's why Amazon is who they are.
So they're like sharks, basically.
Have mercy.
That's business, period, man.
Oh, mercy. I'm trying to remember what was Jeff Bezos' original website name. It was something crazy like Ravage or something crazy. Like, that was the original name of Jeff Bezos' original company. And if you actually look that up, it actually redirects to Amazon.com.
Wow.
Basically, he was all about just coming in and just taking over everything. So that's what Amazon's about. If anything is selling great, you're going to see an Amazon's basics version of it in like about 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because they know how to corner the niche by watching what's selling and stepping in. I would tell you the boutique route might be better for some people, depending on if you have a tangible product, because you get to focus on the actual market that you need, and you get to control your pricing. If you're going to go the Amazon route, you're going to have to do a lot more price adjusting, because everybody has a product similar to what you have, and if your product is $1 more than everybody else, you might not get sales. But once again, it's about finding out the information behind what you want to do. But you can definitely look at how to get an Amazon business account, and then it will show you how to go the route of setting up a business on Amazon if you have an actual product to sell.
You know, something Ramel said sparked the thought of, you know, we titled this Hustling, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so not everybody wants to run their own business. You made me realize, you know, not everybody wants to get into the details of that. Maybe you want to get out there and still work, but the future of work is changing.
Okay.
You know, and so, you know, again, knowing what's out there, what's coming down the pipeline, what kind of work. A lot of the jobs are going to be automated. Right now, about 80 million jobs, according to Oxford and several other studies, that 80 million jobs right now can be automated. Wow. And we've lost a lot of jobs. By 2025, truck drivers will be at serious risk of being out of work. And so we talked about that shift. So computer engineering, coding, anything to do with computer engineering and design and all of that data sciences is really going to be the big piece. You talked about data. You know, data is the new oil, and China is the new Saudi Arabia.
Facts.
So let's own that for a minute and realize that there's going to be a lot of money in that space, a lot of earning potential. And we're moving into an age of the haves and the have-a-lots. You know, if we had time, we just unpack that thing. We were the have-nots. We were the haves and the have-nots. We're moving to the haves and the have-a-lots. They're ending poverty.
Wow.
Because they can actually do that now, and that's a whole nother segment.
That's a whole other segment.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. Well, I want to read another Bible text. This comes from Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 1, and it says, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days." And verse 2 says this, "Giving a serving to 7 and also to 8, for you do not know what evil will be on the earth." And when I read that, because in the original translation, it's actually, one translation says, "Send your grain across the earth." And the idea is that you just can't put all your eggs in one basket, but begin to diversify, begin to look at multiple ways of doing sometimes the same thing. Think about not only networking, but think about how could you reap some of the benefits of somebody else's work as well, and how that piggybacks. Why is that important? Because once again, in the profit and for not for profit, the capital really is information. Wouldn't you say? The capital is information, and being able to make sure that information is passed on and being able to use that information becomes really key. We have one last question because I want to wrap up this show. I thought this has been a very healthy discussion. And the simple question I want to ask all of you is why? Why does this matter? Why does having your own business or starting your own business or doing this, why does it matter?
I know in simple terms or a simple fact is if, let's say, another shutdown were to happen, you don't want to be considered one of the non-essentials.
Have mercy.
It's just as plain as that. If you have your own business and, like you said a moment ago, diversifying and having it in multiple areas, you are less affected by what happens with someone else. And even though one part or one specific thing of your business may be going down, something else may be rising. So it's like you're constantly having a battle of flow that's going on if you are within different things. I know for us, on our business, we're all thinking about going into real estate because it further helps push the interior design and furniture design aspect because it intertwines it. So that way, just for an example, if you sell a house, you need staging.
Yep.
If you want to stage, well, we already have the furniture, we already have the understanding, the interior design aspect. So now you're able to do all that just, by yourself without you needing someone else. So that it's a counterbalance to one another where something else may be going a little weak, something else may be going strong. You want to make sure that you aren't considered the non-essential, so that way you are continuously making money.
And you're also marketing your product.
Yeah.
So somebody who's buying the house may say, hey, I like this piece. Can I have it? Yes, you can. Here's the dollar price.
Yeah.
I want the house just like it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think a big thing about running your own business is just really loving what you do, having freedom in your own life. It can take a lot of time, but you get to control that time the majority of the time. So I think that's really important, especially if you have health issues or certain things in your life that make it difficult for you to work, like a regular full-time job. You have more control over kind of how your life is going to go and what you're going to do with your time, which is amazing.
Indeed. Well, I really enjoyed this conversation for certain. I don't know if anybody else did, but I had a delight. This was great. This was good. I was saying earlier before the show, I wish I would have had these conversations when I was a kid growing up. I went to the school of the prophet. It says, depart. Was it depart to learn? Enter to learn, depart to serve. But they didn't necessarily teach us how to serve and create your own. It was working for somebody else. But the idea is that God has given us all potential. I like what Proverbs 22:29 says, as you see a man who's diligent in his work, he will stand before kings, meaning that work, that work effort will take you great places. And I truly believe in the age that we're living in, that it's now time for us as Christians to be able to be independent of some sort, not only create our own jobs, our own networks, but to be able to have influence in a different way. Right now, the world, as we saw this week, it's kind of tilted, a lot of chaos, and there are people who are dependent upon governments, upon evil, sometimes mentally unstable people to make ends meet. And God has called us to be the head and not the tail. And so I'm challenging all of us, myself included, to begin to start looking at the things that we love, the things that we do, and how can we give God glory and honor in that, at the same time be able to make a living, and at the same time make an impact beyond measure. I want to thank all of you for joining us today, and thank you for the questions. Thank you for watching. Next week, or not next week, but in 2 weeks, we'll have another special episode. It's entitled Sex, Lies, and Social Media. We want to, once again, it's sex, lies, and social media, because we want to unpack. There's been a lot. 2020, one thing we learned in 2020, those things that were hidden have now been lifted. And we want to definitely have a conversation on how we can be better stewards, not only of our time, but understand that the things that we're taking in, the things that we're ingesting, how it's infecting us, but how it's affecting us in this world that we live in. And so it's sex, lies, and social media. And so we encourage you to join us in 2 weeks. Thank you so much. We're going to have Pastor Ramel close us out with prayer.
Let us pray. God, we're thankful for the opportunity just to be able to sit and to gather and to talk and to just put information out in the open. Lord, we know that the one thing that we all desire is information. But Lord, what good is information if it doesn't give us transformation? So for those who are watching and in the midst of just trying to figure out what is the next step for them, or even if entrepreneurship is for them, Lord, we ask you to help them, to give them that wisdom, that knowledge, the understanding to know that there's so much things out there for them. So may we continue to realize that the better we can do for ourselves is the better that we can do for our churches and for our communities. So may we continue to empower ourselves so that we can empower those around us so that we can be successful, not just financially, but also emotionally, spiritually, and most of all, in your kingdom. So may you bless us and keep us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.